Welcome to Bible Study Methods using the book of 3rd John. And here today we're going to be covering the introduction as we get into the text this morning. So opening up the book of 3rd John, we're going to be using the word Bible software. You can use whatever software or just simply open up your English text there. We're going to be looking at a few different things as we get into the Bible study method, but we're going to start off by simply going in to the book and dividing it into its text. Now this morning I've chosen the New King James Version as my base text. You can use your preferred text as you get into this. I'm going to mark that here, and we're going to kind of go down. Here we have a few different screens. I'm going to show you by indicating here in the middle we have the book of the Bible that we're going through. It's basically our personal notes. Over here we have different Bible versions, NASB, the Net 2, and the New King James Version, and this is kind of a compare view. Down here we have a basic guide that I'll be using throughout this study. Over here we have a Strong's Dictionary or Lexicon, another one that includes lemmas as well as Greek and English, and then this one kind of is more Greek but has lots of English as well. So opening up, I'm going to just turn the mic down just a little bit there, going back here to this blue center screen where our personal notes are at. I'm going to close this area, and it says this: the elder to the beloved Gaius, whom I love in truth. Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers. For I rejoiced greatly when brethren came and testified of the truth that is in you, just as you walk in the truth. I have no greater joy than to hear that my children walk in the truth. Beloved, you do faithfully whatever you do for the brethren and for strangers who have borne witness of your love for the church. If you send them forward on their journey in a manner worthy of God, you will do well, because they went forth for his name's sake, taking nothing from the Gentiles. We therefore ought to receive such, that we may be fellow workers for the truth. I wrote to the church, but Diotrephes, who loves to have the preeminence among them, does not receive us. Therefore, if I come, I will call to mind his deeds which he does, prating against us with malicious words. And not content with that, he himself does not receive the brethren, and forbids those who wish to, putting them out of the church. Beloved, do not imitate what is evil, but what is good. He who does good is of God, but he who does not evil has not seen God. Demetrius has a good testimony. Now this is a different man than Diotrephes. This is Demetrius, has a good testimony from all, and from the truth itself, and we also bear witness, and you know that our testimony is true. I had many things to write, but I do not wish to write to you with pen and ink. But I hope to come to you, see you shortly, and we shall speak face to face. Peace to you. Our friends greet you. Greet the friends by name. Here in this text, we're going to go ahead and divide it into various sections. We're going to have 4 sections. I've already divided it out, but we're going to go through, and if you would take some time in your personal time, go ahead and read through this several times and look at the context and divide it out. I divided it out at the end of verse 4. I have no greater joy than this, to hear of my children walking in the truth. So going down here, I'm going to divide it right here. Beloved, you do faithfully whatever you do for the brethren and for strangers who have borne witness of your love before the church. Going down, I've divided it in verses 5 and 8 through 8 as well. We'll go down here, so that we may be fellow workers with the truth. Go down through it, and we have verse 5, ends in strangers. Over here, let's go to verse 8 here. We therefore ought to receive such, that we may become fellow workers for the truth. And there we go. And then also I went to verses 9 through 12. Now, no, we can use Greek and things like that, but today we're just going to be focusing in on the English text, which has excellent versions in it. And we'll go to Demetrius. Demetrius has received a good testimony from everyone. Okay, and know that our testimony is true. Right there. And verses 13 and 14 are the last section. So the sections have been divided. This is once again something you can take and break down in your own time there. I'm going to go ahead. I've divided them out into my various notes that I'm going to look at. So I'm going to go ahead and copy these out. Leave it there. Go to verses 1 through 4 here. And we'll just write up here 3 John 1 through 4. And go in here. Go again. We'll go onward to the next one because we'll be addressing that here and again. Go again to 3 John again. This time 1 5 through 8. Couple more times. 9 through 12. And we have 3 John. And this is something that you could take and do in your own notes as well. Divide it out. And then lastly 13 through 14. So we go here. So we have 3 John 1, 13 through 14. Okay, returning now up here to 1 John chapter 1, verses 1 through 4. Sorry, 3 John. And remember, we're using the New King James Version, but we'll be referencing the NASB, the Net 2, and the New King James. Now, we're going to go in. We divided it out, got a little bit of introduction here. Going to look at the time, going to go roughly about 10 minutes, maybe a little longer, and then we'll pick up next time we're in this same study. So we're going to, first off, as we look back over here to my book over here, we have getting the word ready. We've already done some of those things. Getting into interpretation, book division, did some of that. We're going to ignore the Greek text option. We're down here in the little pink window. Go down to English text option. And I'm going to open that a little bit. We've got comparison. We're going to do a little bit of comparison. Not get really stuck on that. Sometimes it can turn into a little bit of a vain babbling as you get into various sections on comparison. Tends to be a battle of versions instead of actually a battle of what the text says. So let's get in here just briefly. It says the elder. All these this is from the elder. If you want to make a note of that in the Net 2, you can. They make a little bit of a note here. The word from is not in the Greek text, but has been supplied to indicate the sender of the letter. So, okay, there you go. To the beloved Gaius. So we have to the beloved Gaius, whom I love in truth. Whom I love in truth. My dear brother, whom I love in truth. So very similar. Net 2 seems to have a little bit of variance there. Continuing on to verse 2. Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things. I pray that in all respects you may prosper. So that's in all things. Excuse me. A little bit of a sneeze there. Continuing on. And be in good health. In all things and be in health. So good health. Good health. Just as your soul prospers. Just as your soul prospers. Just as well with your soul. Very much similar content. Continuing to verse 3. For I was very glad, for I rejoiced greatly when brethren came and testified to your truth. So this is the word, for I rejoiced greatly, 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 glad, very. So you can see the word greatly and very, a little bit of difference there. When brethren. So this is used brethren, this is used brothers. And they're both referring to believers in Jesus Christ. Came and testified to your truth, and testified of the truth that is in you. To your truth. And so this is and testified to your truth. We might get into a little bit of difference there between to your and of the truth. Very good. How you are walking in truth, just as you are living according to the truth. So walking and living is very similar, just as you walk. So some words there. Going lastly to verse 4. I have no greater joy than this, to hear of my children walking in truth. I have no greater joy than to hear that my children walk in truth. I have no greater joy than this, to hear that my children are living according to, so walk and living once again. So now we have it basically done a little bit of comparing. We've noted a few things, the word from, walking and living. So if that helps you, you can take and go in here and we'll make a small note. Oh, my love, look, right down here. You could greatly or verily. That is just as you walk, and this could be living, and this is something we got from the Net 2. And so let's double check that. Walking, walk, living. Okay, so NASB has walking and Net has living. And just to we'll put it just like that for now. We'll get into it a little bit later. And down here in the truth, I have no great walk. And so once again, we have walking, NASB, and living, and that too. So we'll that's kind of a mini comparison. We'll get into some of that a little bit later. Now we're going to continue on to phrasing down here, and this is just kind of, you can get this module if you want through the wordbooks.com, but it'll just kind of give you some ways to go down. Now phrasing is not something I invented. I received most of this from Bill Mounts and some other sources, and we've refined it and done different things here. You can go through and phrase your English Bible. So we have first off a phrase right off, the elder, and then to the beloved Gaius, whom I love in truth, beloved, I pray that you could say I pray, and then that you may prosper in all things, and we're going to divide it at in all things, and be in health, and we're going to divide again, just as your soul prospers. And so we have a period here. Remembering punctuation is not part of the original text. In this sense, some of the Greek had some of that. We're not going to get into the Greek today. So be careful how much you base things on punctuation, but study context. Context will help you a great deal. For I rejoice greatly when brothers came and testified of the truth that is in you. So we're going to go, that is in you, just as you walked in the truth. I've no great, and then we have another period here, going to divide again. I have no greater joy than to hear that my children walk. So I have no greater joy than to hear that my children walk in truth. And so these are just various phrases that you can break out. We have the elder, probably a subject here. So we're going to go like this and bump it over to the beloved Gaius. This is a dative, or let's switch to a little bit more English terms. This would be an indirect object. And for those that like grammar, whom I love in truth. So we have a pronoun here connecting back to the elder, and then I love would be the verb along with its subject, and then in truth, and we're going to bring that indirect object again over. Now once again, it kind of breaks into a subsection here, beloved, and that'll be, so we see here I love, the elder to whom I love. I see. So the subject is I. Here is probably the direct object actually. So let's change this out. Very good. Okay. Beloved, once again, the direct object, and we're going to jump that over. And this, when you do phrasing, you kind of break it over visually, and you can look at the content. And this is how you can get further into Bible study methods. As you go through, you're answering some questions. You're answering basically a few of these questions that are later in general review that you can dig into: where, when, who, what thing, what, like the verb, what actions going on, how, why, for what purpose. We're basically going through and dividing and observing some things. Then we will be able to better interpret before we ever get to application and further down the road. So basically we go through observation, interpretation, review some commentaries, and the application. We don't want to get into commentaries yet because we really need to just study the text of the Bible. I pray that you may prosper. So this would probably be what he is praying right here. And sometimes this will have a quote depending on the version. In all things and be in health. So let's jump this over to as well. I'll jump this right there. Just as, and that's an adverb, your soul prospers. So let's go here and we'll put it there. Now I'm used to doing this a little different way, using a little different language such as Spanish or Greek, and so forgive me as we go through. We'll kind of work on this together. Okay, continuing on to the next verse, and we're going to actually continue on, and we'll pick it up at the end. Basically, we'll break off today at the end of dividing out the phrasing, and then next time we'll pick it up probably with more word studies. For I rejoice greatly. And when did he rejoice? So this is a verb with an adverb right after it, or when brethren came and testified of the truth. So he rejoiced when brethren came. So we have the noun and verb there, and they also have another verb, of the truth that is in you, and we have basically a indirect object here. Jump this over a little bit more, and just as, and then we have this would probably be an adverb, you walk in the truth. And a lot of times what I'm referencing as an adverb or different things like that is from things I saw earlier or another time when I went through in the Greek and things like that. But those are things you can work through. Continuing on, in the truth, I have no greater joy. So here we continue on. I have no greater joy. Than to hear, and we've probably got a infinitive there, that my children walk. So here we go again. Or walking. Might be a verb, probably a participle there. In the truth. Okay. So we can see, this is kind of a sub area, but we have I love, I pray, I rejoice, you walk, I have, children walk. And these are some things that maybe will be some things to grab onto. Now remember, preliminary questions, context, where. This is the elder to the beloved Gaius. Now, we don't know who the elder is at present. Well, basically we do. It is John the Apostle. And you can get into those through commentaries or book introductions and things like that. We're not going to get into that quite right yet. But the elder to the beloved Gaius, whom I love in truth, beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health just as your soul prospers. For I rejoiced greatly when brethren came and testified the truth that is in you, just as you walk in the truth. I have no greater joy than to hear that my children walk in truth. So brothers and sisters, as you think about this, the Apostle John is writing to the beloved Gaius, and he references him as beloved. And not to get, so before we get any further here, we're going to make a note on this word beloved, just to give us a little bit of a heads up. Beloved, I clicked on it here, is from the word agapetos. And basically, not getting into too much, it's not an erotic sort of love. It is a love that is basically a patient, and you can get into 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 8 and see the verb aspect of it. We're looking more at a noun that is basically a version of it. It's not the direct word agape. It's like it's a noun, and it's somebody that described as with this. So beloved, and you can get into that. But important aspect, he is not writing it in an erotic sense. He's writing in this is somebody he dearly loves, along like 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 8. I'm just going to pop that up just to give us a little bit of heads up. Love is patient, love is kind, does not, etc., etc., etc. And you can dig into that yourself. Let's go back here. I'm going to go ahead and close right there. You can see some things if you're taking some time about the one person writing to another person. It definitely, there's some encouragement going on. We're not going to get into application yet, but this is just a start of Bible study methods. We'll get into 3 John 1 through 4 more next time and get into some word studies and things like that. Thank you for joining us in this mini Bible study method using the book of 3 John and the introduction. We'll see you next time.